thank you all for coming. Today we have with us people who are going to, the speakers is Božica Žilić. She's the president of Trade Union of Education, Media and Culture from Croatia. She will just say hello to everyone after I finish the presentation of other speakers. There is also with us Luca Scarpiello. He's the representative of the European Public Service Union, and Luca asked us if he could speak first because he has another meeting at 3. So if you're okay with that, other speakers, I would give him a word firstly. Then there is with us also a representative of another trade union from Hungary, Viktória. Can you say the last name? We don't hear you. Viktória?
Szùcs. Viktória Szùcs.
Szùcs, okay. And also from Germany, from the trade union of ver.di, from the Hessen is with us Kristin Ideler. Kristin.
Hi. Nice to see some of you again, as you visited last year.
Yeah. So this conference and all the panels within the conference, we're supposed to organize them live in Zagreb, but unfortunately, due to coronavirus and the epidemic, we were forced to cancel it, and now we have a Zoom meeting, a Zoom panel. We had a panel yesterday. We also had a panel yesterday, and it was like pretty good. We managed to change some of experience we have and the work we do through our trade unions, and I think that today we'll also have the opportunity to learn something from each other. So I'll just give a word to Božica, so she can say hello to all of you, and then we'll continue with the panel. So Božica, you can just unmute and...
Yes. Dear colleagues and guests, as Eva said, my name is Božica Žilić, and I'm acting as the president of SOMC, the Union of Education, Media and Culture of Croatia. I just want to welcome you on behalf of SOMC and thank you for taking the time to participate in this online discussion.
Thank you, Božica. It was great. Božica doesn't speak well English, but she understands, so she will be able to participate the panel. Okay, so I'm also going to introduce a bit about the SOMC and about our activities and about the situation in early childhood and educational sector in Croatia. But as I said, since Luca is in a hurry, I would give him a word. And maybe this is good because he's going to tell us something about what the EPSU is doing on the actually international level, especially in this public service sector, and with the focus on also early childhood and educational sector. So Luca, if you are ready, I would give you a word.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Katarina. Thanks also to SOMC for organizing this debate. As you know, I would have wished wholeheartedly to be with you, not today, but I think 1 month ago in person. Unfortunately, the situation is a bit, is the situation that we all know. I hope anyway, though, that I will have the possibility of visiting you, SOMC, in September, because if everything goes right, I should be able to come for another meeting to Croatia, and I hope we will have time also, if again the virus situation allows us to meet and to discuss also the situation in person. I think that the situation of today is very uncertain, in particular for childcare services. There will be, for instance, our colleague, our comrade from ver.di, that will say also a bit about the situation in Germany. But actually, today we have two crises that are, in my opinion, complementary. On one side is, of course, the crisis of a sector that, together of those of many social services, is today actually deeply in crisis after 3 months of stop. 3 months of stop that occur into a sector that you know better than me is already featured by a very high fragmentation of providers, very small dimension of the Creche, but in general also of the entities providing such services, and in general also very high precariousness. And actually difficult workloads, very high workloads, and also problems of stress. So the virus actually didn't add anything to this, to the structural weaknesses of the childcare sector. But it was an important, it was the element, let's say, that in my opinion is, if we don't act, risk to crack completely the sector, and to put a number of people, of teachers, of workers, and also of Creche to plunge them into a very difficult situation. For this reason, actually, on one side, what we try to do in this moment, and on the other side, to finish also, there is the situation of the families. Because it's true that, and it is that there is also a compelling, and never like before we have seen also the social value of what childcare workers are doing, how important they are also for the balance of families, the capacity and the ability also to go to work of the parents and so on. So therefore, those two elements at the moment, risk has, if on one side has shown how this sector is fundamental, on the other side, it's clear that without radical measures, this sector, without clear guidelines, without clear support, risk to plunge into a crisis that, as always, when it comes to childcare, risk to exacerbate inequality among those that can afford also not to work to keep the children at home, and those instead that needs to go to work. And therefore, a professional and also a sectorial crisis that becomes also a societal exacerbation of inequalities, distribution of work between gender on gender, with women that will be forced also to not to take up again their employment in a moment where we all know the situation of telework, for instance. So for this point, we are working at the moment in two dimensions that I think on two levels, which in our opinion are very important. On one side is to work on what are the guidelines at the European level. I'm always saying that, and it would be also interesting to know how, let's say, it is important also the role that agreements also to reopen some services are taking in our societies today. And of course, the role that we as unions has to play in this moment to ensure a safe reopening of the service is fundamental. Also because, again, talking about what are the guidelines to reopen our service means in particular to look at the next 6 months. Next 6 months were actually, now the situation, I guess, but you will tell also us, it's a bit easier because we are approaching the summer season, but we know that this is a sector that has, first of all, is reopening in many countries already now. Second, it has to cope with the situation of transition where the virus will be not be beaten, where the risk of infection will be significant, and where in particular we need to ensure a clear preparedness plan in case of a second wave. And so for this reason, let's say cooperation at European level is fundamental. First of all, because you know that now there is a recovery plan that has been presented 2 days ago by the European Commission, and we are advocating to make sure that sufficient funds are earmarked for childcare. Because we need to make sure that organizations, cooperatives, member states, region has the possibility of accessing the unemployment funds, the sure dotation, that is this insurance scheme for unemployed, but on the other side also to keep the sector, the salaries working and investments also in the sector. For this reason, actually, we are working in this direction. It is essential that Creche, that childcare facilities gets the money they need in order to run the services. This is the first and foremost priority. Second priority, it's clear to make sure that we have clear guidelines. For this, I think also together with me, there is Jacob that is in contact also with the European Commission. Maybe Jacob can also intervene later to provide you more information on this. It is essential also the work of exchanging on the guidelines to assess the risk also, and what are the guidelines to reopen, knowing that it's very difficult to ensure social distancing in our facilities, and at the same time also to minimize the risk of infections, and how to keep the distance requirement, for instance, for kids. We have very good examples, for instance, in Norway, and also how, for instance, to reduce also the numbers of kids in a facility. This will mean most probably working hours that are longer, that needs to be paid, and in particular needs also to lead to, and this is lead also to the point of funding, to more people employed, to ensure, let's say, that each carer has enough point. So those are the 2 points that are for us, let's say, fundamental. I think that the role that ECDC, that is the Infectious Disease Center, to issue and also to make sure that member states are compiling and also supporting and also using models for safety assessment also for Creche is used. But I think also that, and I finish with this, I think we need also to look forward. I think that all the sectors, in particular those that cover an essential societal role, like childcare, for sure, and if it was not sure before, now it's even more sure, is playing, needs to be ready in case of other infectious disease. For this problem, it will be fundamental also in future to continue work together on this, to continue also ensuring key safety provisions that can ensure safety on healthcare and on the creche, and to occupational safety and health, And we are eager also to see what are the different practices and what is the job that you are putting in place, because it is time now that there are two ways how this outbreak can go. On one side being, let's say, the end of the sector, or the end of being a carer for a lot of people, in particular young people, that are now starting this profession with enthusiasm, and that for sure needs also to be to have a safety, clear, safe condition, or could be on the other side the moment where we really tackle the structural weaknesses that we have been always claiming from the trade union side. I strongly believe that we need to take the second road, that we are not forced to suffer in this sector, to suffer for the next months and years to come. And I'm sure we can work together towards this. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Luca. It was very interesting, and I think there are probably a lot of questions to you, but just before we continue, since there are people here who are not familiar with the work of EPSU and with the structure of EPSU, could you please just tell us just a few words? How is EPSU structured? Who are the members of EPSU, and how are you working internationally then?
Yes, so sorry if I haven't done it before, but sometimes I'm focused on the subject. It's difficult. No, EPSU is actually the European Public Federation for Public Services. We cover a number of sectors, no matter, and this is important also from public administration, but we try to look at the public services from no matter from who are the providers, either public or private. For us, a service is public in the moment whereas a public utility. And as such, we are advocating for this element. We cover different sectors, of course, national and European administration. I am for utilities, local and regional governments. I am the Secretary for Health and Social Services, and it means actually that we coordinate not only the hospital, the healthcare part, but also social service. Among those social services, of course, there is also childcare. And let me also recall the experience that we have, because since 2 years, we have the childcare network that is actually a network of childcare unions organizing workers in the sector to exchange, share experiences. We are following not only COVID, but before, for instance, we discussed about how to regulate the presence of camera more than the use of structural funds to trigger investment also in the sector, health and safety for childcare workers, and so on. On the other side, we are also partners of the European institution. We are working on the concept of child guarantee, for instance, or we are also working for the follow-up of what is called for the strategies for childcare. So we try to develop the job. SOMC is already part of all this, and we are looking forward to continue for this.
Okay, thank you. And just another question before I give word to another speaker. You mentioned this recovery plan that was brought by the European Commission, and you said that they will provide some funds. So this is going to be funds for the specific national for the countries for the investment into early childhood and the education sector, or like. larger?
Let's say that it's still very premature, because there has been, you know, that the discussion at European level on the recovery, not only of social services, but in general of the entire society, is ongoing. At the moment, actually, the Commission, also following a number of elements, come up with a plan of around 750 billions of euros for the next 7 years. So let's say the previous reserve, the previous MFF, that is the multi-annual financial framework, but boosted through what is called the recovery plan. A recovery plan that is actually at the moment should support investments in the society, in different sectors, and also to support also the public spending, in particular in a moment where, you know, because this is the reality also this sector, where unemployment skyrocketed, where there are a number of work that are at the moment on unemployment benefits, and so on. So the point is that for what we know, the Commission has proposed a significant strengthening of the social fund, which will mean for sure more funding at national level. We are still asking for high conditionality, in the sense that we need to make sure that, as I told you before, the money goes to tackle what are the structural weaknesses and to relaunch investments in the sector, and not that they are, of course, a mega gift to those that has already, to employers and in general, without managing to tackle what are the elements. So we expect anyway a significant increase of the funding available. Again, from this, the discussion is yet at the beginning. At the moment, it's a mixture between grants and loans. We, of course, we are eager to defend not only the earmark for child guarantee, for instance, but also, as it will be already a plan that will be implemented in 2021, according with the last work program of the European Commission. But we are also hoping that, let's say, we can have a bit more ambitious plan also when it comes in general social services. But at the moment, let's say we are strongly advocating, because we believe that the grants should come and not loans, but let's say the discussion is open. We will play our role as the European social partners in this regard.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we'll have time later, if you're still be here, to ask you some more questions, because there are like...
If not me, there will be Jakob.
Ah, yeah, okay, you said that Jakob is staying, will stay with us. Great, thank you. Okay, now I would like to give a word to Kristin, if that is okay with you, Kristin. So you can tell us something about the situation within the sector in Germany, or in your region, in Hessen, and how did you address the problem with the crisis? What is the situation there? What are the conditions that people are working in, and everything you think it is important?
Okay, I try. Should I say 2 sentences about ver.di, or?
I think it would be great, yes.
It's pretty good, okay. Yeah, ver.di is the service union in Germany, which has about 2 million members from different sectors. But the public services is a very important sector. And we also have in childcare, we have different employers. We have public, but the biggest part is not public. It's private and churches, like we also discussed when you visited here. And therefore, the situation is different in the different with the different employers, and also it differs a lot if the institutions of childcare are big or small. Yes, to start in mid of March, all kindergartens in Germany were shut down completely. Only there was an emergency childcare for people who work in very important professions at the moment. So they made a list of parents who can get this emergency childcare. For example, if they work in healthcare, if they work in transportation services, or you can imagine, like mainly public service employees got these emergency childcare. And they also got it at the weekends sometimes, and yeah. From this going on, we started to give step by step more childcare to other parents who are very in need of it. For example, single parents are now also allowed to get childcare, but the biggest part of the children are not in the institutions at the moment. They will be where in this part of Germany where I live, they will be next week, after 2nd of June. That's a big step. That's a partly reopening, and they try to provide childcare again to the biggest part of the children, but only part-time, like for 2 days a week or something like that. But with this, as Luca said, we have big issues with the security and the health protection of the employees, because I think I don't have to tell it, but I say it because it's very special at childcare that you can't provide the security and health protection you can in other sectors. As you see little children, you take them on your arm and so on. So it's difficult to find solutions for that. And I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany about 20 to 30% of the employees are in this risk endangered groups, which have higher risk to get bad outcome of infection with COVID. So yeah, that's a problem, and we are fighting that these people don't have to work when more children come to the institutions, but it's difficult because it's so many employees. Yeah, we have also we have concepts that are written, for example, to get the groups in the childcare separated, and that they are only, and also the employees are separated. Like every employee is responsible for the same children. You don't mix, and you don't have open concepts. Before we had a lot of open concepts. We did also different things that are not able anymore. So also the pedagogical work had to change a lot. And yeah, it's for some of the employees, it's also difficult to work under this different situation. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany, the expectation of parents is very high to get childcare again, and there's a lot of pressure. Of course, they are in need because they have to go to work, and this home office stuff doesn't work for all of them, and some employers are also saying you have to work. I'm not giving you money or free time for childcare. So yeah, that's a conflict that is increasing. German government gives parents some wage compensation, but only for some weeks. It's not provided for, I don't know, 6 months or a year, and that's a problem because we don't know how long this will last and if we get a second wave or something like that. So that's a lot of insecurities in this part. Yeah, and the institutions are sometimes, as I mentioned, they are different, and some are so small that you can't separate the groups. So you also need to find other rooms to provide childcare, like public rooms, or yeah, they say you can go out with the children, but I think that's also limited. You can't do everything outside. For us as a trade union, it's very difficult at the moment because in March we started collective bargaining with the employers, and we started negotiating, and then this shutdown came, and of course the collective bargaining process stopped. So like we put the pause task, you would say, but that's very difficult because we planned this collective bargaining process about 1.5 or 2 years, and it was not only to provide more money to the people, but also better health conditions. So it's like Luca said, it's double negative that we cannot do something about this at the moment. And to do something else, we started a campaign which I would say supports the argument that this sector is fundamental to society, and had some open letters to politicians and some photo actions with the employees together to say we are essential, without us society won't go on like we need it. But it's also, as you can imagine, it's difficult for us to meet the people from the kindergartens at the moment because we cannot meet in person. So we have to do a lot of telephone and video conferencing, and I think it's not very, a lot of people are not used to it. So it's really also to, change our habits in trade union work, because we cannot meet, we cannot do things with bigger groups together. That's difficult sometimes. But I'm glad that also colleagues which are a bit not digital natives, as you would call them, are really trying and are participating. So another important issue is the financial problems of the sector, and therefore in Germany we can say that the state provided a lot of money. I think that's not provided in other countries. They provided, for example, 75% of the money for the social institutions which are not working at the moment, to rescue them. Like no institution should get bankrupt or should stop their services, and that the employees lose their jobs. That was very important. But of course, a lot of people have been working in short time and got less wage, as we have this short time work money that comes from the state. I think it also exists in other European countries. It's a bit less than you got before, but we have some the trade union negotiated with the employers that in public services, the people get about 90 or 95% of the wage they got before. So it's very low loss. In the private sector, it's much more difficult. So there it's less money, and yes. And as I can also correspond to what Luca said, I think at the crisis now we see what was in crisis before in this sector. Like we had this big problem to get qualified employees. Like we had more children and more places that should be provided, but not enough people who work in the sector and who are qualified to work in the sector. The groups were too big. We had but I know in Croatia the groups are even bigger. But we had about 25 children in a group, and now with Corona, when some people say we can about have 10 or 15 children in a group, we have big problems to solve this because we need even more employees we don't have. So, and we have high rate of employees which are at risk or which are on sick leave at the moment. It's the highest rate of sick leave since, I don't know, about 10 or 15 years. So that's a problem. Yeah, but to close with something positive, I think we see at the moment that really more people are coming as members to the trade unions because now they recognize it's very important in this part of crisis to get some support, to get advices for the working conditions, how they can do something about it, and we see that it's really more interest in trade union work than before the crisis. So that's a bit positive. And we have to do something with that the people are coming more to us. We have to, do something together with them now about to have a positive outcome of the situation. And and it differs in Germany a lot how the kindergartens are reopened. Every federal state can do its own regulations, and even every city can do different regulations sometimes. So it's really a jungle, I would say, at the moment. And we have to, as trade unions, we have to fight in every city and in every town differently. And I think that's a big problem, that we don't have really, like Luca said, we have a concept which is really thought about and which is implemented in a general way, and not every employer can do what he or she wants. I think that's a big problem. Yeah. Okay, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. Could you just tell us just a little bit more? What is the position of the trade union of ver.di, and how it is framed, like publicly, when talking about this conflict between the between the parents who actually need the kindergartens so they can actually go to work, and on the other hand, with the employees within the kindergartens who are, especially as you said, 22% of them are at high risk of getting COVID. So what is your position? How you are framing it, especially publicly?
As we have also a lot of trade union members who are parents and who also need the places, it's a really a difficult situation because we need to do something about both. But but I think we frame it that for us, the most important at first place is the safety of the employees, because we don't know a lot about how COVID is spreaded in kindergartens. There are no studies, and also the problem is that it's not the position of children in this in spreading it is also not very clear. And we also have not the capacities to make testing for all the people. Like in hospitals, they are tested and you know how many people are infected, but in kindergartens we have not this testing at the moment. And so our main task, I would say, was to go to the politicians and to negotiate between these two poles, to say how can we ensure that the employees are as safe as it's possible at the moment, but also to provide some childcare to the people. But also we have to tell the parents that they cannot get the same service as before the crisis. And on a federal level, the DGB, our Federation of Trade Unions, also negotiated with like in Berlin, they negotiated, for example, as I said, this wage for parents they get when they have to provide childcare at home. And also we tried to find some solutions for the that different families can provide childcare in a network or something like this, like to get some alternatives until the institutions are reopening, but it's very difficult. I would say it's easier in Germany to rescue the car sector than the childcare sector. It's really like society is really also in crisis, putting emphasis on different things and not on the social sector as it should be, because I think it's the most important in society, that keeps us together and keeps society going on. So but there are also some questions on the right side.
Yes,
I haven't managed to read them.
Okay. No, it is the people, the comrades from Serbia and Luca are actually talking in chat because they asked some questions. So before I give word to Viktória, I will just give, we have, I don't know what the name is, Bogra. I think you have a question, you raised your hand. Sorry, Bogra. That's what is written on your profile.
Maybe it's me, Yvonne. Yeah. Yvonne from Sweden. I'm from
Yvonne.
Kommunal.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm wondering, do you have any guidelines from your national authorities regarding preschools? For example, regarding basic hygiene routines?
We have some for all sectors, but we have not one different for childcare sector. But we had this process of reopening. There were some regulations, but they were very open. Like every federal state can do different things with it. It's only really a loose framework, and you can do a lot of different things in it. So it's, and this specific hygiene regulations we have on the federal level, some, but they are also very unspecific, and mainly it's part of the employer to do this. and the specific ones are done at the institution of the employer. And so, yeah, it also differs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Yvonne, now you can lower your hand so we know you're not. Okay, anyway, and Kristin, just one more question. You said that you started collective bargaining just before the epidemic started. So can you tell us what do you think, how it's going to, or the situation right now, how it's going to reflect the collective bargaining in the future? And do you have plans to continue with it? And did you have some announcements from the employers that are going to decrease the material rights? And you said something about it, but what is like kind of the perspective?
Yeah, we are discussing it at the moment, so we have no ready plan, but we have different other collective bargaining processes that are coming in summer and in autumn. So we kind of have a line of bargaining processes, and childcare is only one of them. So we have to find solutions for all of them. And we are discussing 3 options, like to make a very short contract with not so much higher wages, but a bit for the moment, or to postpone the bargaining and then get higher wages, for example, like later on, or to try it in autumn, yeah, with to start bargaining in autumn and try for a longer contract. And these different options are discussed at the moment, but it's difficult because we have this limited possibility to strike at the moment. We find a solution to put people into strike en masse, and that's difficult to think about it at the moment. So, and of course, our employers say we have to spend so much money at the moment for everything. There is no money for our workers in kindergarten. So that's also a difficult situation. Because before there was much more money coming in from taxes, they could spend also on this sector, and at the moment that's more difficult. And yeah, we have to find a solution for these 2 parts that are different now.
And did you like talk about it? Do you have already some like plans? What pressure methods to use now? Since you said you're not able to strike at this situation, you probably are not able to protest. So what kind of like industrial actions or like the union actions you can actually use to advocate the rights of the
that was the one I mentioned before, like this open letters to politics we do at the moment. Like it's over in the internet, and all the people from social sector give their sign, and we claim in our open letter to spend more money on the sector, but also to provide like this better health issues, and yeah, and for society to recognize yeah, the how Luca said it, how fundamental the sector is to the system. And we try to go with this open letter. Our goal is to have about 40,000 people signing it, because we need a lot of people that are behind this goals to go to the politicians and then go to the politicians on the different levels like regional, federal and national to negotiate with them and to hopefully get more money and yeah, better conditions in parts, yeah, for the social sector. That's one, and the other one is like doing something about digital media, about social media. We try, but it's not, I would say it's not equally seen as when you put you are together on streets with people, and when you can also have the talk of the colleagues in the institutions. That's also what's difficult at the moment, because a lot of people are still at home, and so it's difficult to discuss with the colleagues what we are going on to do and what they want to try for different actions.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting. Okay, now we can go to Hungary. And Viktória, I will give word to you. So you can also tell us, inform us, what is the situation in the sector in Hungary, and what are the actions you are trying to like implement to advocate and to promote and to workers' rights and working conditions. Thank you.
Thank you too. First of all, I would like to thanks to Božica and for you, Eva, to invite me this meeting in a webinar, or I don't know, it's an online kind of online meeting, but I'm a little sad because it was planned to organize in Zagreb in person. I remember when we were 3 years ago, it was a huge conference, and it was very useful for me too, with a lot of colleagues, and it was a good possibility to exchange the information between countries. But we have now this kind of COVID situation, and everybody from home office or working from home, as me too. So I made a little presentation, but before I show you, maybe it will be useful to the colleague to introduce my union, as Luca said, and the German colleague too. So my union, the Childcare Workers Union, represents the childcare workers, and we have members from the child protection sectors too. And we have few members from the old care sectors, but we haven't got any members, for example, from the kindergarten sector. So we participate the childcare workers in the local level and sectoral level and national level. Our union is a representative trade union in the country, and we organize the workers all over the country. And our union is 30 years old, was last year, and we have a lot of results of the workers. So if we compare the working condition of the workers in the childcare sector or the kindergarten and then other, for example, the old care sector. So the childcare workers has a much the best working, the better working condition, for example, than the old care sector workers. So I think in Hungary it's very useful. The childcare workers has a separate trade union at the moment, because we can represent their interest in the professional level. So maybe I think it's a framework about our union. And I can start and I share my screen, and I hope it's visible to everybody. Yes, okay. So in my presentation, I would like to give the short overview about the Hungarian ECEC system and about the working conditions. And finally, I will speak about the COVID-19 situation from ECEC aspects. And I hope I will be good. Yes, the next. I would like to show you some statistical data from last year, at the end of the last year. So in Hungary, we have a split system. The creches belong under the social care sector. The children in the creche 20 weeks to 3 years old. And another, the kindergartens belong under the educational sectors. The children are between 3 and 6 years. If you can see a lot of data about the Hungarian Statistical Office, but I would like to mention some important data. For example, the availability of the creches only 18%, and the kindergarten is 85%. As you know, the Barcelona target goal was 33% for 2010. So unfortunately, we are under the Barcelona target in the under 3 years old children. But in the kindergarten sector, we are okay, absolutely okay. And we have another maybe interesting things, the children with special needs data. In the creches, close than 2%, and the kindergartens has a 3%. So we know that punctually from the childcare sector aspects, the children with special needs more than the statistical data showing. So the reason is the children has a long time when they get a diagnosis, and who has not a diagnosis about they have some disabilities, they are not in the statistical data, but the children are in the institution and they get a normal service as the healthy children, special together with the special kind of developing institutions. And if you see the most of maintainers, the local authorities, the municipalities, both sectors, and we have some kind of church institution and the private one, the both side in the kindergarten and the creches too. And maybe it's the next interesting data, the children and adult ratio. And in the childcare, in the creche sector, 5.9 at the statistical level, and the kindergarten 10.2, the children and adult ratio. But in the practice, of course, it's totally different. It is just an only statistical calculation. And I would like to show you the next slide, the regulation. And so in Hungary, we have a split system. And I collected the most important regulation in this side about the ECEC, the Hungarian ECEC system. We have two kinds of institutional creches. It's a classic creches and the mini creches. And we have another kind of service creches. It's called family creche, and another is a workplace creche. These four kind of creches has a totally different regulations. For example, the professional requirements and the educational level of the staff, the number of the staff, and the group size. It's totally different between kind of creches. So, for example, the family creches and the workplace creche workers enough only 100 hours training. And those workers who are working in classic creche, they has obligatory tertiary vocational training or college level. And then kindergartens is totally obligatory and universal system for 3 years children or after 3 years children. For example, they have fixed regulation about the group size. The minimum is 30, the maximum 25, and average group's size is 21.9. And the kindergarten teachers has obligatory college level diploma, and the nannies has only vocational training, but everything is obligatory. And it's a big difference in our split system between creches and the kindergartens at the regulation level. And the next slide, you can see the ECEC workers' labor rights and working conditions, which are regulated by law. I know there are a lot of information. Excuse me, but I would like to mention some important things. For example, the working time, holiday, salary, and other allowances. So about the working time. So in the creche and the kindergarten are same contact and not contact hours, but the contact hours number is totally different. So for example, in a creche, a normal children group 7 hours a day contact hour, and 1 contact hour per day is one hour is a non-contact time per day. And in the kindergarten, the contact hours is a 32, and another 4 hours preparatory work a week. And those kind of groups, when the children with disabilities, the contact hours 6 a day, and another time is a non-contact hours. And in the kindergarten is an equal one, 20 hours contact work and another 20 hours non-contact work a week. And if we see the holiday is an equal both sector, everywhere has a 21 basic holiday and 25 extra holidays. In a yearly level, every workers who work directly with the children, they have 46-day holiday a year. And if we see the salary, we have a very complicated regulation. I think it is one of the most hectic part of it, because we have no universal regulation, unfortunately. We apply different rules for the workers with vocational training, and we use a totally different regulation. Those kind of workers who has university or college level education, they get their salary to follow the teacher's life career salary table. And both sector is available lot of allowances, several allowances. In a creche, we have afternoon shift. This means if a worker's working between 2 to 6 in afternoon, they get afternoon shift. This means 15% substitutes. And those kind of workers who has children with disabilities, they get SNE substitutes, or for example, who has a second qualifications, they get second qualification allowances, or we have jubilee reward after 25, 30, and 40-year work. There is a jubilee reward is available for the kindergarten workers too. But the kindergartens has another kind of substitutes. For example, if they have economically deprived children or minority children, they get an extra allowances, or the workers who work community leader status, they get community leader allowances. So this kind of allowances regulated by law, not the collective agreement. So those places who has a collective agreement in local level, because in Hungary, unfortunately, the public sector act forbidden to make collective agreement in the sectoral level. So we have collective agreements only in the workplaces in local level, but the partner has an opportunity to do extra allowances, for example, or another extra regulations. And about the salary. So I think, as I mentioned before, this is the most hectic part. And I calculated the salary for the workers to the creche sector and the kindergarten sector, but we have a differences between the educational level of the workers. So if you can see the creche sector with the vocational training course, the beginners has only in the euro and the Hungarian foreign currency. It's visible. The euro is a red one every column. And the beginners has only 450 euros a month, the net salary. And before, if they go to retirement, after 40 years, is a maximum 635 salary. And those kind of workers who has a college degree in the kindergarten and in the creches too, the beginners has a little bit more than 500 euros a month, and before retirement close to 700 euros. This is the net salary. This is the maximum. This is the ceiling. And who has a university degree, they have a 500 and a little bit more salary, and with university degree before the retirement a little bit more than 700 euros a month. So it's a very few money. So we have a very complicated regulation and a lot of allowances and a lot of things, but all in all, so it's a few or little money for the workers. So, and I would like to jump for today, the COVID-19 situation. So the Hungarian government announced the emergency situation on Friday, 13th March, and parallel closing down the schools. One day later, the government gave right to municipalities to decide whether to close down kindergartens and creches. It was the weekend time. Most of kindergartens and creches closed from 18th March in the big towns. They operated only duty service with few children for the parents who help run to the sister, for example, doctors, nurses, shop assistant, and so on. And a lot of kindergarten and childcare workers work in home, from home office, or were redirected to work into the social care, especially in the old care institutions. And then 1.5 months later, the government ordered the maintainers to provide obligatory duty service in ECEC sector from 4th of May. And the duty service has a special regulation. The government maximalized the children in the group. It was 5 children, the group. And another regulation was the service available for the parents from 6 to 6. So 12 hours was available, and the Hungarian average regulation to the opening time, it's the same one. So the Hungarian creches usually open from 6 and to 6 to morning to afternoon or evening time. So yes, back to the timeline. So the leaders who have reported the number of children using the service on daily basis, it was also a requirement to provide the service free of charge for the parents. And from this week, the creches and kindergartens in the countryside are reopened. And from next week, Budapest institutions will reopen too. And what happened from with the workers during the COVID time? So we have been monitoring the ECEC situation week by week. We are collecting feedbacks and good practices and problems. The workers provide on duty service and get salary in creches in 100% who is working in the creches in the duty service, of course. And a lot of childcare workers work in home office. They get, most of them, they get 100% of the salary, but some colleague has a little bit less, for example, 75 or 80% of the salary. It depends on the employer and the municipal decision. So what was the decision from the employer side? And in Hungary, most of creche workers give help to parents in different way from their home office. They get good practices for the parents. And a lot of creche give for the children daily give activity, music, and fairy tale recommendations, and professional advice for the parents if they ask. Some good practice available in our website because we published. It was very interesting and very useful in other creches. And in Hungary, we have only one creche in Budapest, but was open for 24 hours and give full service for the healthcare workers, children to 0 to 6 years. So it was unique in the Budapest level. This creche was available 24 hours for the healthcare workers. And back to the list. So who can't do home office because their work is not that type, they get downtown money. This means the basic salary without subsidies. This was in reality the minimum salary or skilled minimum salary only. So it was lower or fewer money than I show you before on the table. And a lot of workers have to take their holidays. It was unfortunately an obligatory way because they have 46 holidays a year. And about the trade union activity, so as I mentioned earlier, we monitor the situation week by week, and we get a lot of legal advices to the workers, directly to personnel, or we publish the legal advices our websites. We try to prevent the unpaid leave or other illegal solution. And we collect the good practices, and we made guidelines for the legal cases, and we made the professional guidelines for the duty service, and we made another professional guidelines for the reopening, and we use the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work documents. And I think, yes, am I ready? And I try to keep my time. So thank you for your attention. And I stop share my screen. Good.
Great. Thank you, Viktória. This was also very interesting. There are some similarities with Germany, actually, a lot of them, especially regarding this negative reflection of the epidemic on the working conditions and the workers' rights. I will just ask you like a few more questions. First of all, can you tell us what is the average salary in Hungary, so we can compare it to the salaries you showed us from the
I cannot
Okay.
calculate in euros. Maybe it's 30% lower than
So it
average.
is
30% lower the childcare worker salary than average. So the average salary is 30% higher.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Okay, and the other question is, you said that like in Hungary, and okay, it is also very similar to Germany, but in Croatia also, which I can tell a little bit more later. You said that you actually, that the kindergartens are under the like auspice of the local authorities of the cities and municipalities, and that you actually also bargain collective, you do the collective bargaining on the local level,
Yes.
which is probably pretty difficult since you have to
Yes,
put a lot of capacities in order to bargain, So I wanted to ask you, do you, as a union, do you do anything about it? Do you advocate some other how do you say that, conditions, or do you advocate that it has for the sectoral bargaining, or you are just like accepting it?
So unfortunately in Hungary we have no possibility to make sectoral collective agreement. It's a forbidden by law at the moment. So if I would like to reach something for the workers, I made a legal plan and I sent to the ministry. We have a lot of recommendation to exchange the regulation, and we have recommendation to increase the salary, for example. And I always sent my letter to the ministry level. And if the ministry is open it or say yes, they modified the law regulation. Only it's a low level, and they give the money. For example, in the salary situation, if the ministry increasing the salary of the workers, they decided, they published by law, and they give the money for the municipalities. And on the other hand, so we have possibility to make a collective agreement in local level, but every decision depends on the municipality, political decision, and the budget decision, of course. So, but it's very difficult, and we have very few good collective agreements. We have, but some collective agreements, from my aspect, it's empty. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And another one, before I give word to Yvonne, you said, actually you had this great presentation and you gave us like a lot of data. Do you do so a lot of them you can find also in like Eurofund researches and other like European or also national probably research, but do you as a union do anything in this field, in this area? Do you do the research on the working conditions or the material rights around Hungary nationally, or? So
if we have research, I made it.
So you do?
Yes, I will be the researcher, not just only the trade union leader. I became a researcher. Unfortunately, no, it's very rarely. It was some years ago, some researcher made a survey, for example, but it's most often, it was the topic, the cost of the creche, the cost of the kindergarten, sorry. And yes, this is it. So unfortunately, we haven't got special researcher institutions. And okay, we know the funds are available, but so the decision for the funds and the tenders depend on the political decision.
Yeah, okay. Because it is like, I think it's very important to have this kind of data especially for the trade unions, because then you can actually use them for like advocating for defending the rights and advocating different and better working conditions. Could you, because you have like real data which you can then use.
So
But
yes, I usually sorry.
No, yeah, you can say.
So I usually spend a lot of time to collective data from the law, from the statistical office, from everywhere when it's available, but it's very, very difficult to find good and clear data. So yes, it's a lot of time for me. It's true.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We have a question from Yvonne from Sweden. Yvonne.
Yes, thank you, Victoria, for your good presentation, as always. Could you please tell me more about your about the 24/7 childcare in for key persons?
Can you repeat, please?
I don't know if I misunderstood you. You told us about childcare for key persons 24/7. No.
In my chart, I don't remember. Maybe I was misunderstandable. Maybe I don't know.
Can you repeat the question, Yvonne? Maybe.
Yes, you told us about that key persons or have the availability could have childcare the whole day for the key persons.
Yeah.
During 24/7 hours a day.
Yes, I remember. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. It's yes. So yes, it was it's kind of good example during the Corona time, from the beginning of the Corona time, in a creche next to a Budapest hospital was open 24 hours a day. They get a service for the healthcare workers. It was a duty service. And it's not the children age was from 0 to 6.
Okay,
but
so
it's only one in all of
one creche.
Yes, it was one creche. It was a kind of good practice. Yes,
okay.
Next to the hospital.
Okay, how come?
So I have no real information, but it was few children in the beginning. And now is not working because every creches are open again, and so it was kind of duty service and emergency service, the hospital workers, but the hospital workers were happy. It's true.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry I misunderstood the in the start.
I was unclear, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yvonne. Maybe I can just share a few sentences about the situation in Croatia. It is also pretty similar to Hungary and Germany. And then we can open discussions for others also. We are already an hour and a half, but I hope we have a little bit more time and motivation to continue the talking. So, and the panel. In Croatia, it's pretty similar as it is in Hungary, like the legal framework of the early childhood and educational sector. It is part of educational system, and it comes under the auspice of Ministry of Education and Science. But it is only under their auspice regarding like this legal framework and like regarding the curricular framework and standards. But the financing and ownership is also in the hand of the local municipalities. So the finances actually depends on the budgetary capabilities of different regions, different towns, and different municipalities in Croatia, which brings us to a situation where we also have like these huge regional differences, also in material rights, in the salaries, as Viktória also said, you have in Hungary, and also in in different working conditions. And as for then again, we have this also the same situation as it is in Hungary and in Germany, that we also have to, we cannot bargain collectively on the sectoral level, but we also bargain on the local level. And this is, from one side, it is a problem, because then we have like also different different collective agreements and different rights that are prescribed in the agreements. But on the other hand, there is like an opportunity to advocate more rights in some of course, regions, in some cities which are economically more developed, so which is like good for the workers. But of course, if you look at the whole situation, and then it's kind of unfair that for the same work you have different material rights. And as for these numbers regarding the inclusion of the children in the ETSETs, in the sector, in the kindergartens, it is also, we also didn't reach the Barcelona goals. And so in the, like this nursery, for nursery age children, we have around 22% of children included. And when we are talking about kindergartens, it is 59–60%, which is still much lower than the Barcelona goals. The other also huge problem that we have is, like, as I said, the Ministry of Education and Science, and they are actually implementing the, like prescribing and implementing the law. We have two laws that are regulating the ETSET sector. One is this Preschool Education Act, and the other one is the Croatian National Standard. And this Croatian National Standard, it is, so within this standard, there are criteria for material, spatial, financial, and like personnel, like criteria that we should have in our kindergartens. But the situation is pretty difficult, because Ministry is actually like prescribing the law, but on the other hand, the municipalities are not, a lot of them do not have enough finances to obey the law and to have the standards, and to reach the criteria that are put in the standards. So as we already talked before, and also in Germany, we have the problems with the ratio, teacher and child ratio, and we have the problem with the group sizes, and also of course with other working conditions, like too small spaces and so on. So it is also something which is like a problem that the trade unions are addressing. And as for SOMC, the Trade Union of Education, Media and Culture, it is a trade union that was established in the 2010. It is now affiliated to EPSU, and it mostly organizes members from early childhood and educational sector, almost 90% of them, and the other members come from media and culture. And as for the activities of SOMC, it's like we use all of the like national and international legal action that we could use as a trade union. We of course give legal support. We do the different campaigns and media actions, and also different actually street actions and protests. And through these campaigns and through these protests, SOMC was one of the actually first trade union in Croatia who addressed the problems with the working conditions and the problems regarding the the teacher-child ratio or the problems with the group size. But also we did a lot of actions regarding the problems with mobbing in kindergartens, and also we did this awareness raising campaign about like for better working conditions, but also for the dignity of the profession, which is, as I may notice from all of you who talk today, which is kind of from the like in the public, but also in the from this governmental perspective, this profession is kind of undervalued, and we kind of think that this is something we should advocate in public, and we should like kind of fight for the dignity of this of the profession we are working, or the people who are employed in the kindergartens. And as for COVID and like the reflection of COVID and epidemic, it is also like pretty similar as it is in Germany and also in Hungary. Most of the kindergartens were closed when the epidemic started in Croatia, and now we have this yes, we had the announcement of the government that the kindergartens have to be open. We had these guidelines with these criteria and epidemiologic measures that should be implemented, but of course the problem is that as with everything before, the problem is that not every kindergarten and that not every municipality can provide the conditions for the measures to be and the criteria to be implemented. And also there is a problem with like material rights, because there are announcements. For example, we have more than 15 collective agreements signed around Croatia in different local municipalities and with towns and municipalities, and we have like the announcement of more than 60% of them who want to decrease different material rights in the next 3, 4 or more months. And it is of course really very difficult to fight against it and to defend the rights, especially since we, as Kristin also already said, since we don't have okay, we are in the situation in which we are facing the huge economic crisis, and it is obvious that the decrease of the rights of the workers' rights is going to happen. But then on the other hand, we do have like a lack of the opportunity to put the pressure on the employees, since there is since we are not able to protest, to do the direct actions and so on. And it was also pretty difficult to bargain collectively through these online channels. And what we have is, and what we did also, as you already also said, you did in Germany, but also in Hungary, we also did we wrote these open letters to Croatian government, and yes, we do the campaign for in order to at least secure part of the and to leave to how do you say, to keep at least part of the rights workers have in their collective agreements. And what is the perspective? I don't know. I think we all don't know, but I kind of think that it is very important to share this kind of experience we are facing, especially right now in this epidemic or post-epidemic situation, although we don't know what's going to happen, and there's going to be a new wave, because it is kind of, I think it is actually important to try to think of other mechanisms for the trade unions to fight and to defend for the workers and for their rights. So, okay, I didn't take a lot of time. I just wanted to introduce a bit because since we are organizing, yesterday we talked more with colleagues and comrades from the region. So this is just a brief introduction. Okay. I would like to ask the other participants who are still here if they want to maybe participate in the discussion, to ask some question or something to Viktória or to Kristin, also to Božica. I can translate. We also have today with us the president of the also trade union, early childhood and education trade union from Serbia. So maybe you can also ask her something if you're interested. What is the situation in Serbia? Is there any questions? People from Croatia, you can also ask a question in Croatian, and Katarina or I can translate. So if you are interested in something, please do participate. Ask the question.
There was a question in chat earlier. It's from colleagues from Serbia to Kristin. So the question was, just to find it. The question is, what level of education should teachers in preschool institutions have in Germany? So please, Kristin, maybe if you can answer this question.
Yeah, it's two ways you can get to this job. It's like vocational training. It's 5 years. Like at the first part, it's in school, and the second one is practical training in the institution. But you can also do it as a study, like bachelor degree. That's the two ways you can get to childcare services. But we also have, like the colleague from Hungary showed, we also have this assistants who get less wage and who are assisting, but they can't do all the work, and they you have to have minimum personnel who is trained. You can't do everything with assistant stuff, and that's also a big issue for trade union to keep this level high of trained workers. Yeah, I hope this answers the question.
Yes.
Okay, is there some more questions? You can also, the speakers, you can ask questions to others if you want. Okay, if not, I think we talked a lot about and we kind of covered a lot of interesting subjects, especially when we are talking about the situation we found ourselves at the present moment regarding COVID. If there are no more questions, I would actually thank you all for participating. I would like to thank the speakers for preparing such a great information and presentation for us. I would really like to encourage us to do more of this kind of exchange knowledge and experience we face, especially in the sector, because we all have this like really pretty similar experience, and I think we can, of course, learn from each other what kind of actions to use and what to do in order to defend and to promote the rights. What we do as trade unions. So we are willing to participate in this kind of online, but also physical meetings. And I hope we see each other then. Thank you very much once more, especially for the speakers.
Thank you.
You can like turn on the cameras and just wave us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those who have cameras.
Take care of you.
Bye.
Jakob, Magnus, I hope it was okay for you. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.